The story I'm about to tell is true, though the details have been passed down in whispers over the years. It happened at Brookfield High School, a small school in a quiet town. The building was over a century old, full of creaking wooden floors and narrow hallways that seemed to hold onto the past. But the most infamous part of the school was its east wing, a section that had been sealed off for decades. No one knew why the wing was closed. Teachers avoided questions about it, and students weren't allowed anywhere near the locked doors. The administration said it was due to structural instability, but those who had been at the school long enough knew better. It was 2005, during the cold winter months. A group of seniors decided to break into the East Wing after hearing rumors about its dark history. Stories of Miss Hargrove, a teacher who vanished in the 1970s, circulated widely. Some said she had been murdered by a student. Others believed she had taken her own life in the East Wing. The group of students, Jake, Rachel, Ethan, and Lauren, was led by Matt, a rebellious type who loved breaking rules. Matt had stolen a copy of the janitor's master key earlier that week, and on a Friday night, the five snuck into the school after hours. The East Wing doors were large, heavy, and covered in years of dust. Matt unlocked them with a triumphant grin. The air inside was freezing, far colder than the rest of the school. The hallway stretched into darkness, with broken lockers lining the walls. Old posters hung, yellowed and curling at the edges. A faint smell of mildew mixed with something metallic lingered in the air. Lauren shivered. "We shouldn't be here," she whispered. "Come on," Matt replied, turning on his flashlight. "Don't chicken out now." They walked further in, their footsteps echoing eerily. The corridor felt wrong longer than it should have been. As they passed a classroom, Rachel gasped. "What is it?" Jake asked. Rachel pointed at the window on the door. "I thought I saw a face." Everyone turned to look, but the classroom was empty, its desks coated in dust. "Relax," Matt said, though his voice lacked its usual bravado. They decided to explore the classroom. As they stepped inside, the temperature dropped even further. Ethan noticed something strange. The blackboard was clean, as though it had been wiped recently, but the rest of the room was untouched. "That's weird," Ethan muttered. Lauren stepped closer to the blackboard. Suddenly, words began to appear, scrawled in jagged handwriting, as if by an invisible hand. "Leave now." They froze. "Okay, we're done." "Let's go," Lauren said, backing away. But before they could leave, the door slammed shut. They rushed to open it, but it wouldn't budge. The lights flickered, and a low, guttural whisper filled the room. "Who's there?" Matt shouted, his voice trembling. The whisper grew louder, forming words. "You shouldn't be here." The door finally burst open, and they stumbled back into the hallway. But something was wrong. The corridor no longer looked the same. The lockers were now dented and rusted, and the walls were covered in strange, dark stains. This isn't right," Rachel stammered. Ethan pointed at a nearby window. "What time is it?" Outside, it was pitch black, but when they had entered the wing, it had only been 7 p.m. The clock on the wall read 3:15 a.m. "How is that possible?" Jake asked. Suddenly, they heard footsteps behind them. Slow, deliberate steps. They turned to see a figure at the end of the hallway, woman in a long, tattered dress. Her head was tilted at an unnatural angle, and her eyes glowed faintly. "Run!" Matt shouted. They sprinted down the hallway, but no matter how far they ran, they couldn't reach the exit. The corridor seemed endless, looping back on itself. They burst into the old auditorium, hoping to find another way out. The stage was covered in dusty props, and rows of rotting chairs stretched into the shadows. "Didn't this school burn down once?" Rachel asked, panting. "Part of it," Ethan said. "The East Wing. They said it was an accident." But before he could finish, a loud banging echoed from the stage. Slowly, the curtains parted, revealing rows of students seated at desks. Their faces were pale, and their eyes were hollow black pits. They stared silently at the group, unmoving. In the center of the stage stood Miss Hargrove. Her face was twisted into a grotesque grin, her teeth sharp and yellowed. "You came back," she hissed. Panicked, the group tried to flee, but the auditorium doors wouldn't open. Miss Hargrove began walking toward them, her movements jerky and unnatural. "You shouldn't be here," she repeated, her voice echoing unnaturally. Jake grabbed a chair and hurled it at one of the windows. The glass shattered, revealing the cold night outside. One by one, they climbed out, cutting themselves on the shards. As they ran across the school grounds, they heard Miss Hargrove's voice behind them, rising to a scream. "You can't leave." The group made it back to the main part of the school, collapsing near the front entrance. When they turned to look at the East Wing, the doors were gone. The hallway they had entered through was now bricked up, as though it had never existed. The next day, the school principal announced that Brookfield High would be temporarily closed for safety inspections. The group tried to tell others what had happened, but no one believed them. A week later, Matt disappeared. His parents said he went out for a walk and never came home. Soon after, Rachel started hearing whispers in her house. She moved away, but the whispers followed her. The remaining three swore to never speak of that night again, but they all agreed on one thing. Something evil was still inside Brookfield High, and it wasn't finished with them.